Hey guys, today I'm going to be reviewing the 2025 Porsche Macan. This is the Macan 4, the four-wheel drive version of the Macan, and this is the EV full electric version that is replacing the outgoing combustion engine version of previous years. And I'm going to show you guys around the car as well as the interior, some of the storage space, look at the technology, and I'll let you know my thoughts compared to my Tesla, which I drive on a daily basis. I've been driving this for about 2 days now and I'm really enjoying the car. To be honest, I'm actually considering placing an order for this and selling my Tesla. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. But anyways, let's take a walk around the car and I will show you guys a little bit more. So looking at the front, you can see that the lights look a lot like the Taycan, and this seems to be the identity that Porsche is going with their lights. And you can see that it has the accent lights on top and the actual main headlights are at the bottom. Indicators are on the top as well. And in this model we have the base 20-inch rims. I initially didn't like them too much, but it's actually really growing on me. The past few days I've been driving this car, I've been liking it more and more. And if you look around back here, it has a slope angle just like the Porsche 911, and I think the silhouette looks beautiful. It looks a lot like the Porsche 911. The slope actually only starts a bit later, so it doesn't really reduce too much headroom like in the X4 on the BMW, which is a lot more sloped compared to the X3. But from this 3/4 at the back here, you can see that it looks, I like to describe it as a tortoise because it looks like a tortoise humpback. But yeah, I think generally speaking this car is very beautiful. This one I think has a blacked out light bar at the back. If I unlock the car you'll see, oh, the lights aren't on so it's not going to show. But anyways, so this is what it looks like. The charging port is inside this cap, which is very traditional looking for a traditional car. I think it might be on both sides like the Taycan, because that one isn't the fast charging port. On this side you can see that that's where the fast charging port is, so you can charge on both sides. So if you have, you know, the plug in your car, sorry, the plug in your house that is on that side, you can plug it on that side or this side, whichever is more convenient for you. If you look at the trunk space, open it by pressing this button over here or on the key fob obviously, and it is quite a substantial trunk as you'd expect from an SUV. What's also nice is you get this under section. Actually you don't, this one is just a subwoofer, so maybe if you don't get the subwoofer upgrade you have that section extra, and you have some storage area on the side here. I will include the space over here just to show you how many liters that is, but it does have this cover here which you can remove to have a through loading, since it's a hatchback design, as you can see. Let me turn the lights on. So this model has, as you can see, the blacked out lights. I've just turned on the lights so you can see what the light bar looks like for the brake, and I think it looks really futuristic and cool. A lot of car companies are going with the single bar lights bar these days, and with this car I think it makes it look really futuristic. And this Porsche is actually 3D, so you can actually touch it. In the Taycan it's actually inside a panel. I think there might be different trim options as well, so you could probably customize the look of that. In the turbo models you have these extra flares over here, but this is just a regular the four-wheel drive version. But generally speaking, I think this car looks really beautiful. You can see that my dog is loving this car as well, and they're also loving being inside because I am currently freezing. I think it's probably like 2 degrees. Before we get into the car, let's take a look at the front space, because I showed you guys the trunk already, and it automatically opens, but it is not powered, so you can't close it again. But it does have hydraulics that push it open, and this Frunk is nowhere near as big as the 911 Frunk or the Taycan Frunk, so I think you might be able to put some small luggage. I don't think you can put a carry-on luggage in there. There's definitely not enough space for that, but at least you do have something up front. Some manufacturers, EV models, don't have a front Frunk or bonnet for storage, so that is quite a nice addition to have. But you can see that we are here at the Olympic Stadium in Berlin, and this car is so suitable for this weather in terms of the color. This grey matches the grey skies. If you like to watch our vlog about Berlin, check out my other video that I launched. That was before this car review, so I'll link it in the description below as well. Now let's head inside and take a look at what it looks like inside this Porsche Macan. So I've been driving this car for a few days now, and to be honest, I'm really liking the interiors. I think it looks very beautiful. You get this main screen over here, and there's an option to get a passenger screen as well for your passenger if you'd like to get that. And they also have this climate control panel here, which is touch. I think it's capacitive touch, but it's actually a panel as well. So when you press it, the whole panel moves and gives you some haptic feedback. I'm not sure if the haptic feedback is real or not. And then you have this volume control knob here for your audio. Very simple, basic setup, very clean. I really like it. And you get these buttons to change the climate without having to take your eyes off the road, which I think works much better because I don't need to fumble through the screen like I do with the Tesla. I know a lot of people really hate the Tesla because of that. Some people love it, but you know, I like these mechanical, like, you know, even these vents are very traditional mechanical, and it doesn't look old, doesn't look aged at all. Like, you know, they've really modernized it with this really nice gloss splitters, and everything works very well in this car. Here is also where you put your phone with the wireless charging, and you can close it. Unfortunately, this one doesn't seem to be vented. I think there might be an option to vent it, or I'm not 100% sure, but if the other models have it. But basically, some cars vent the charging pad so that your phone, doesn't get too hot. And one interesting detail that I noticed was that this handle here actually moves back a bit, as you can see in this footage. And what's interesting is that even though it's not required, it actually gives it a bit of a springy effect. So when you push it open and closed, it feels a lot more premium for some reason. So I really like this little details that the German engineers always put into their cars, and I really think it adds a little bit of exclusivity to it. The pedals, for some reason, this is obviously the base model, I think you can probably upgrade this as well, are as ugly as the Tesla Model 3. You probably do get third-party accessories for this as well, but I'm pretty sure you can also upgrade them to be metal or something similar. And this is the steering wheel. The steering wheel has heated steering, and there's a secret button over here that I discovered to turn on and off the steering heating. So now it's off, now it's on again because I pressed it twice. And yeah, so this is the steering wheel. The steering wheel is a little bit thin, to be honest. I think there's an option to get a thicker one. I probably would have opted for a thicker one, but after driving for a few days now, it actually feels fine, to be honest. But everything in here I think is vegan leather, so it doesn't feel as nice as back in the day where everything was actual leather. There might be option, upgrade your vegan leather to real leather, or maybe higher quality version of this trim. I think this trim, because it's a rental car, they only upgrade the most basic things and keep the cost low so they can resell it for a better value later. This is what it looks like. You get this ambient lighting. Porsche has implemented very interesting thing in their ambient lighting, which they call communication light. And basically what this means is you can turn on all of these settings. So when it's charging, for example, it changes the light. When your car's being locked, etc., it changes the light or it communicates with you basically. But what's interesting is, and I'll show you in the supplementary footage over here, is that for the blind spot indicators, not only on the rear view wing mirror, you can also see it over here. So this starts blinking red. There's actually additional lights here somewhere that also blink red. So when there's a cyclist driving past or a car driving past, it actually warns you not to open the door, which I think is really cool. And I think Tesla should implement something like that as well, because their ambient lights are very static. They don't even do any warnings for if you're about to get autopilot striked, which I think is a very easy thing to do, especially if they're able to communicate with the lights. Maybe that isn't implemented, so that's probably why it's missing. In terms of displays, so over here, this main display, compared to the Taycan that I reviewed a few months ago, this is definitely a lot smoother. It's as smooth as the Tesla one, to be honest. I don't think you need anything better than this. And the resolution is very good. I don't think it's OLED. I think it's just really good LCD or LED. But you can see that compared to especially that main one, I'll talk about that one now, how I'm determining that it's not OLED. But what I've noticed about driving a car like this, and I guess any other car, is that the difference between a car like this and a Tesla is that Tesla has the technology at the center of the car, where the whole car revolves around technology. Whereas with these cars, this is basically supplementary to your driving. And after driving this for a few days, initially when I got in, I was a bit nervous to drive this because I was so used to having the Tesla do a lot of things for me, like all the warning systems all the time, and also when I started indicating, it would show a pop-up of the blind spot. I actually realized I actually have to look at the wing mirror this time. So that was a little bit disorientating for me, and I was a bit worried that, you know, I wasn't going to get used to driving a normal car again. But after driving this for 2 days, I feel confident again, and I'm really enjoying this car. One of the reasons I rented this car was to do a review for you guys, but at the same time, I also wanted to see whether I would like it, because this has been on our short list of cars to buy, and I am completely convinced. I actually think it's a really nice EV that Porsche has released. Going to the instrument cluster behind the steering wheel, there are 3 different sections. So how you cycle between this is you click this button and you can see which section is highlighted. Now it's the left dial, and I can change what that displays. So I can show what the battery level is, I can show the G-forces, and then I can move to the right one, and I can also show, you know, what's currently playing on the media system, for example. But then I can also move to the middle one, and over here they've kind of implemented something that's similar to Tesla Vision for the cruise control. I think this car has the automated cruise control and auto steer. I have tried it a few times, and I'll show you guys when I'm driving the car later how that works. It doesn't work nearly as well as Tesla, but I think it's mainly for highway adaptive cruise control and lane following, so that works quite well, I'm pretty sure, on the highway. Maybe we'll get to go on the Autobahn a bit later and see how fast this car goes, as well as also follow the traffic in front of you automatically. So the middle section is also configurable. You can either have this third dial, so it looks like the traditional Taycan look, and then you can also make this a map or a full screen map, or just distraction free, and where you can just have the speed. You can also get an option for the heads-up display above you, so you don't even need to look at the instrument cluster. That is an option available on the Porsche configurator. In terms of storage, there's a storage compartment here for 2 cups, which are held in by these mechanical springs, and there's a large storage area down there. You can see my cameras down there with my wallet. I don't know why this is not closed. I don't know if there's an option to get a closed version of this, but at first I was a bit confused as to why there's like a big gap here, but then I realized it's actually a handle. Oh, there's 2 USB-C ports down there for charging. But there's also wired CarPlay as well as wireless CarPlay, so you can have wired CarPlay so you plug your phone in. But anyways, this handle here I think is actually quite interesting, because there's a handle on this side as well, and if you hold both sides, you're actually quite stably held in. And I think the point of this is for the passengers, so when you're taking your Porsche on the track, they can hold onto the sides without being pushed around too much. Well, these seats are very comfortable. These are the base seats, and already they're much better than the Tesla seats, much more bolstering. I feel a lot more comfortable sitting in here for long road trips than the Tesla. I do think the Model S has better seats as well, but obviously, like I said, this car is in a completely different category. Porsche is a completely different category of car to Tesla. They could have done a better job with the Model 3. I'm going to head to the back to show you the rear, and we can take a look at the rear space and whether there's enough space for 4 adults in this mid-size crossover SUV. So let's head to the back. I have moved the seat quite far back earlier, so I can see how much space I can get. But even with the seat far back, I fit quite comfortably in here. Obviously, I'm not particularly tall. I am only just about 170 centimeters with my shoes on. I would say I feel very comfortable. I think 4 adults is fine. I think that's the absolute maximum. And you can put the armrest down and have pretty good space. I don't think it's very comfortable with 5 adults. But if you have children and stuff, this car's perfectly fine. Like I said, the headroom is perfect. There's no reduction of headroom because of the slope, because you can see the slope only kind of starts behind the head over here. But these seats back here are quite comfortable, to be honest. Wow, actually is pretty good. I don't know if you can get an option to tilt the rear seats like I had in my X3, but you can see that my dog is pretty enjoying the rear seats here as well. And this car has the basic rear ventilation system. I think there's a small screen here to control the ventilation. There's a small shelf here. I think you can put your phone in there, your small phone. I don't think the Max actually fits in here, the iPhone Max sizes. But yeah, so you can also obviously put the seats down for through loading. It is very comfortable back here, I must say. I am very impressed with the space, even though it is a smaller SUV. There's a coat hook over here as well to hang your coat. But otherwise, let's go for a drive, and then we can take a look at what this car can do. And if you have any questions, remember to click the like button and subscribe. Drop your questions in the comments below. Okay, so once you get into this car, the first thing is that everything has a button. So all the seats in the Tesla also have a button, obviously, to adjust the seats, but there's also memory seats over here. You can lock your doors with the button both on the passenger and the driver's side. And the steering wheel has this knob here that allows you to move it up and down, back and forth. It's like a 4-dimensional knob that allows you to move that. But otherwise, seating position is really good. Visibility is pretty good. I can see a lot, and the rear view mirror is very high visibility as well. I can actually see out of the rear, no problem. And now that we're gonna go for a drive, it's raining, so unfortunately this car doesn't seem to have automatic wipers for some reason. I think that might be an option. But to start the car, let me turn it off for you first. So that's what it looks like when it's off. You can see that there's switching off animation. But when you turn it on, you can see that when you enter the car, it actually shows the Macan welcome screen. But you saw that the lights actually changed. That red was actually the warning lights if you had a pedestrian or if the door was open while you were trying to leave. This is the configuration that I like, the 3 dials. Actually, no, the middle one isn't correct. The middle one should be this Tesla Vision, Porsche Vision thing, if you will. And then we're gonna go for a drive down the road there. I'm gonna describe to you what the drive is like. To start the car, you step on the brake and there is a manual. And this is quite interesting because it's quite similar to swiping up and down. It's a manual PRND over here, P to stop, and then D is down like this, just like the Tesla, because the Tesla you swipe down and R is up like that. So let's go for a drive. I need to just get out of this parking lot. We are at the Olympic Stadium here in Berlin, West Berlin. Just checking it out and finding a place to film because everywhere else seems to be pretty congested. This parking lot was like basically empty for some reason. You can hear that there's like a slight, whir to the driving. I don't know if you can change that sound. I remember the Taycan was a lot louder, but this is definitely artificial sounds pumped through the cabin. But there is an option to, so right now I have brake regen mode on, which makes the car come to a slowdown by itself while you are having your foot off the accelerator. But if I can turn it off. This shortcut has been configured to that. But now that I've turned it off, you can see the car just carries on rolling by itself. So there's no brake regen, and it feels like more like a normal car. Now that I turn it back on, I didn't step on the brake or anything. You can see it's slowing down already. But right now I'm driving in normal mode. I can also drive in sport mode. I can also press this button, and what it'll do is actually lift the spoiler, because there's an adaptive spoiler at the back of this car here. And I'll show you guys what it looks like outside once it's lifted as well. But now with sport mode, this car definitely has a lot of power, even though that this is just the Macan 4, not the turbo or the S. So for me, this would be more than enough power on a day-to-day basis. But if I wanted something more powerful, I think I would look for the S or the Turbo S. I think the Turbo and Turbo S are 2 separate models, as far as I remember. But those are quite crazy, to be honest. I think a bit too crazy for an SUV. Driving around Germany has been great. In Berlin, it's been really drivable. The roads are very wide, and it's very familiar for me. The rules are practically the same as Portugal and South Africa, so there's not much issues there. If you want to see a little bit more about driving around Berlin and what we did in Berlin, check out my previous video that I uploaded. I will link it in the description below as well. In terms of driving dynamics, this car handles extremely well. It stays relatively flat even around the corners, so I'm taking this corner relatively quickly, but the car stays really flat, so not much body roll, and it is very smooth. It is on the stock 20-inch wheels, so it's got really thick tires and it is very comfortable. I don't know if this car has adaptive suspension or not, but it feels genuinely very comfortable. A lot more comfortable and stable than the Tesla Model 3. Obviously this is a SUV as well, so it's higher up, but I do think the suspension is better, and that's not surprising at all. It is Porsche after all. So let's see if we have a more open space here and I can test the acceleration. There's too many cars here, so let me just turn it. Wow, this car has a lot of power for sure, even though it's not actually that powerful. I'm just going to turn around here so we can go back there. But yeah, overall, I've really enjoyed driving this car. It feels like a much smaller car than it is. It's got really sharp steering angles and steering feel. I can feel the front tires really well, especially on the sport mode. I do think that the steering wheel has tightened up a little bit. It might be adjustable as well. I haven't looked into that. But the Tesla, for example, you can change the sensitivity of the steering wheel as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's an option here. Generally speaking, I think this car is a great SUV, obviously on the luxury side, if you're looking for a compact family SUV. It has really good handling. The four-wheel drive I can definitely feel comes into place, especially with this rain at the moment. I think you handle a lot better in the rain with four wheels than two. But in terms of infotainment while I'm driving, I usually just use Apple CarPlay. It's interesting, ever since I got that custom display on my Tesla, I actually have been using mostly, if you guys can see over there, there's the warning light that there's a car in my blind spot. And I think it's a really cool use of ambient lighting because it makes it functional as well. But anyways, I was saying, ever since I got a custom screen in my Tesla, I actually use Apple CarPlay a lot, not for navigation, but actually for music and stuff, because the Spotify actually works a lot better on iPhone than it does in the Tesla app. So I use Apple CarPlay for my entertainment. In driving now, I use Google Maps. It is a bit laggy while you drive, but ignore that. That's because I am filming with it. Sorry, it's not laggy while you drive, it's laggy while you're filming with the phone that you're casting Apple CarPlay from, because obviously your phone is doing all the work. Also in this car, it's equipped with the Bose speaker system. As you guys saw in the trunk, there was no sub-trunk because there seemed to have been either a Bose amplifier or subwoofer or something. I'm not sure if this is the stock. I can't imagine this being the stock, but it does sound very good. It sounds, I wouldn't say a lot better than my Tesla Model 3, even though my Model 3 has the bass speakers. What I have noticed is that the Model 3, the sound doesn't really sound very dynamic until you've turned up the volume a lot, whereas with this car you can play this music a lot softer and you hear a lot more dynamic range. So I do think the sound system, obviously it's Bose, that might just be a marketing gimmick, but I do think that the sound system is better in this car than the Tesla Model 3, especially the stock model. I think the long range and performance models have incredible sound, especially for the value that you get. You don't actually have to pay for that. That comes as the stand with the long range and the performance models. Here is some action shots outside, and I turn on the spoiler to show you guys what that looks like. So there's an option when you go into sport mode or in the menu, you can go into the spoiler setting, and this is what it looks like with the spoiler up for increased downforce. I'm not sure how much extra downforce you would get from enabling this. And here is the Macan next to two other EVs, including the Tesla Model 3 like the one I have. So I didn't get a chance to go to the Autobahn because it is a bit too far. So today I'm actually just returning the car. I have the car for about an hour or so more. It says I'll arrive in 7 minutes. Maybe I should go for a bit longer of a drive because I have the car till about 10:30 and it's only 9:33 now. I had to disconnect CarPlay because I wanted to use the audio from my mic on my phone, and yesterday I was running into issues. So today I'm using the built-in navigation and it has been pretty good actually. I'm not sure what the app situation is like with Porsche and whether you can send destinations to the Porsche app and directly to your car like in the Tesla. In the BMW, when I had it back in 2022-3, it wasn't that good. Maybe they've improved it now, but this seems to be pretty well integrated, and you can see I can have a different display here. If the passenger had another display, they can see something else, but I can have the map here in my instrument cluster as well. So very Audi VW vibes. But overall, I've been very impressed with this car. I did look at some of the specs. This car is definitely faster than my standard range Model 3. It has, I think, 380 kilowatts and acceleration just over 5 seconds to 0 to 100, 0 to 60 miles per hour. It is a pretty fast car considering that it is on the base model side because it's the Macan 4, which is the slowest or least powerful four-wheel version of the Macan. In terms of battery capacity and charging, the Porsches run on an 800 volt system, which allows them to charge even faster. So this one charges at 270 kilowatts, which is very fast, much quicker than my 170 kilowatts in my car. I'm not certain about the battery technology. I'm not sure if it's NFC or LFP, but my version, my Tesla is the LFP and it can only charge up to 170, but the long range models can charge up to 250 on the Tesla Model 3. So the charging is pretty quick. It has a 100 kilowatt battery, kilowatt hour battery, which is quite big. My Tesla's only had my standard range only has 60. I think the long range is 75. Even though it has such a big battery, the Porsches aren't as efficient as the Teslas, and they're rated to around about the same as my standard range model in terms of range, with a WLTP range. And I haven't really been able to do a proper range test, mainly because I've been driving really stop and go, and also been doing short distances which require a lot of heating. I also haven't been driving, with my car at least, in this type of condition about less than 5 degrees Celsius Fahrenheit over here. And obviously, you know, because it's so cold, the battery's not as efficient, but also the cabin cooling takes up most of the, or heating rather, takes up most of the energy. And you know, Teslas have a really cool technology called the super manifold, which is extremely efficient in transferring heat amongst the different parts of the car, so that it doesn't use too much battery, doesn't have a separate electric heater. I'm not too sure about the technology in this car and how it transfers heat and, you know, generates heat and cooling, etc. But I don't think it's going to be as efficient as a Tesla. And it's also a bigger car as well, even though I think the Model Y is around about the size, slightly smaller. I don't think it's as inefficient as this, but at the end of the day, the Teslas are the kings in terms of efficiency. But otherwise, in general, I've been very happy with this car. I'm really glad that I rented it to review and also to experience a few days in Berlin, because I've always been, you know, a BMW fan. After having this car for a few days, I'm definitely convinced, given that this car is very similar to X3, X4. I used to have the X3 and I really love that car. At first I wasn't convinced because, you know, I'm quite a big BMW fan and I quite like the technology and stuff. With the Porsche Turbo over there. But the experience that I've had with this car, it's been really good. It drives very well. The technology is sufficiently there. Everything that I need is here, and it's very comfortable as well. So I'm going to take a look when I get back, maybe something for 2025. So we're about to enter the parking area where the car rental place is. Thank you so much for watching this video. I normally do travel content. I do some car reviews like this one here and there. And if you like this type of content, remember to click the like button, as that really helps my channel. And remember to subscribe if you like this content for future. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below and I will try to get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.